Welcome back, Rebels.
But it's not welcome back though, is it? Because this is the first time they're going to be here.
Yeah, I suppose it's welcome back to our podcast listeners.
Oh yeah, if you followed us over from the podcast, then welcome to our YouTube channel thing. Yeah, really excited to do this. Quite a few people have been asking us to put the videos up. I listen to podcasts like in my ears, on the train, when I'm travelling, when I'm painting. That's how I consume podcasts.
I watch them.
You watch them? I don't get that.
My favourite things are getting up early in the morning, making a cup of coffee, and just putting a podcast on the TV to just sit and watch that. So I think it's a lot more interesting than just sat there with nothing in your ears and no visual stimulus.
Well, each to their own. If you are visually stimulated by us, then congratulations, lots more of that to come. And so we've recorded 37 episodes?
This is our 37th episode of the show. You can find it on iTunes, Spotify, whatever podcast platform you happen to use.
Yeah, we're all over the place. Yeah, so people do like a good binge, so you can go back through all of our episodes if you're just discovering us here. And this was a great episode, wasn't it? With
your mate, episode. My mate Anna.
Yes, Anna, she's a chef. This was a really fun chat. Anna Barnett is a chef and a food blogger. After working, I suppose what some people would consider dream jobs at like MTV, Channel 4, House of Holland. She decided that food was the thing that she was like most passionate about. She makes a living just doing food full time, which is bloody great. She runs supper clubs, cooking classes, has written a book called Eat the Week, and she's collaborated with brands like Goose and Soho House. And her ethos is all about positive thinking and just going for it. Like whatever opportunities come your way, just go for it. Enjoy the episode.
Enjoy.
Welcome. Hi, Teddy. So if anyone hears any weird noises, there might be a run-in at some point from Teddy the dog.
Yes, heavy panting is not me.
Thanks for doing our podcast.
Thanks for having me.
What do you say to people who say, I can't cook?
I say, please don't cook for me then. No, I would say, yes, you can. Go for it.
It's one of those things, isn't it, that like I would have said to you a couple of years ago, like, I can't cook. And I think it's maybe you haven't tried to cook.
Yeah. Do you know what? There's been several people that I've worked with over the years that I've tried to teach to cook. And I always say cooking is confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they really took the piss out of me for that. But I think if you are confident about your flavours and you're aware of what tastes of what and what you ultimately want to achieve, then you've just got to try it. And you know what? If it doesn't work, you know not to put that in again or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because like confidence is just the act of doing something over and over again and so when you get someone who if I'm following a recipe, I'm like, okay, it says 3 ounces, and then I measure out 3 ounces. Yeah. Whereas like a confident chef is just like bosh, a little bit of this, some of that, and just
you look at the picture, you're like, I've got that.
Yeah. You kind of learn what tastes nice together, and it's like, because if we've got a fridge full of random stuff, and we're like, well, what's for dinner? And we're like, well, if we mix that, and that, then that'll probably taste good, and it generally does.
Yeah, for sure. I actually often do a fridge raid because I have been disorganised, or I've not, as much as I preach organisation is like the key to kind of happy living and healthy living. Often I'm like, what the hell? What have we got? What are we having for dinner? And then you pull out whatever you've got and kind of throw it together. But I think if you know the key flavour profiles that you want to combine or what you want to achieve, I think you can totally, it is just practice. You can totally achieve something good, delicious. I actually challenged my husband to it last night and it wasn't too bad. I just said no paprika because he put paprika in some kind of pasta the other week.
Oh, wow.
I was like, that is borderline divorce for me. That is one step too far. Paprika has no place in my bolognese.
I mean, paprika is the best spice, but not with pasta.
In Mexican cuisine, yes.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it doesn't have a place too often in my cooking.
So have you got were you grown up around food? Has it always been?
Do you know what? I grew up a greedy child. I grew up in a big family. There were 6 of us children. So I guess one of the things was if you cooked, you didn't clean or you cleaned up less. There's a lot of chores. I'm really good at ironing. And I guess that was one of the kind of impetus for me to kind of cook and be more creative. And also because every night we all had to sit around the table, we would all sit together, no TV on. And every Sunday was like this big Sunday roast, boyfriends, family, whoever, there would always be like a crowd for Sunday. And so, yeah, and I guess my dad would also cook a lot, come Sunday roasts and, all of that. So I would kind of do that with him. Yeah, and my mum was also a good cook. My nan's an amazing baker. My mum was quite experimental, so we would I remember she'd do dinner parties for friends, and we would go and make Peking duck, and we'd be out there kind of chilling it out in the garden and hiding it from birds and whatnot. So yeah, I think food has definitely always been a part of my life. I've always enjoyed it personally.
What was your favourite meal as a kid?
Bolognese. Oh, no, that's a lie. I do love bolognese. But my nan's shepherd's pie. I actually tried to go vegan for a month, and that was the one thing. I just couldn't look her in the eyes and say, Nan, I'm not going to eat your shepherd's pie. I was just like, give me the shepherd's pie. Her gravy, the key to her shepherd's pie is that her gravy is as meaty as the filling to the shepherd's pie. So it's just like...
Do you know her secret?
Just put extra meat in your gravy. Yeah, I don't know, she just nails it every time.
Yeah, my grandma does a mean shepherd's pie as well.
It might be good, but not as good as my nan's.
Oh, wow, sounds like a pie off.
My friend actually posted that her nan's shepherd's pie is the best, or cottage pie is the best one out there, and I kind of had to interject and be like, I don't think it is. So I'm seeing like a theme going on here.
My grandma does. I don't eat beef anymore, but my grandma does a corned beef pie as well. I missed that. Yeah, I really missed that.
Since my Duke of Edinburgh, I don't think I've had corned beef in a sandwich for energy.
Yeah. Those were the dark days. My grandma puts baked beans in a shepherd's pie. That's a winner.
That is controversial.
Oh, it's so good though.
Yeah, I think for me that's a different pie.
Yeah, because it's like you don't like tomatoey sauce though, do you?
I don't mind baked beans though.
Oh, okay. But I feel like that would just go against the meatiness of a pie.
I think it's taking away from the gravy taste.
Yeah.
I don't think she puts gravy in, so it's a...
What is this pie?
Yeah, my grandma's a genius. We'll have her on the podcast.
I'm going round to her house. I want to try this pie.
Bless her. She's 96 and like her hands are like really, really not working very well anymore. But she's still cooking and she's still like, and it's so funny that like now the stuff that she makes is just like there's no presentation there because she can't because her hands aren't working properly. It's just these like piles of food, but they still taste just as good. Yeah.
Oh, my nan's actually 91 and is still baking. She's still, I don't know, she's so agile. She kind of just throws herself up out of the chair and she's off like whipping up a cake or something or a shepherd's pie or just like, Christ, Nan.
It's so inspirational, isn't it?
She's, amazing. And that you find like this community of how they've all looked after each other over the years. Like she's lived in the same place for 30 years and the way everyone kind of drops in and it's just, there is something so brilliant. We actually lost my granddad last year, but prior to that, he was really like the pillar of this, like, what is it, a community, but like the village that they live in, and would just go around making jokes, taking the piss out of everyone, but they loved him. And you just really realise like how integral everyone is in each other's lives and keeping each other positive and happy and fed and healthy and sharing their vegetables they grow in the garden. It's like, it's sweet. So
goals,
good.
Isn't it? I wonder how much of that we will lose because it's like everyone does talk about things being like, oh, it's not as good as it was in the old days and stuff, and I think everything is a lot of people go on about that, and I really don't think it's as bad as people make out, and I think things are actually pretty fucking great at the moment, and like social media and all of that sort of stuff has like actually massive upside to it. But I do wonder.
Sorry, I'm just getting really excited.
Yeah, go.
But I was actually introduced to an app called Olio last year, and
yes, I've seen that on the tube recently.
Yeah, and it was literally the best thing I did last year. So it is an app that basically works within the vicinity you are. So it will show you. So say where we are here, there might be like 5,000-6,000 people. I actually tested it recently with a brat. We're like, who's on Olio? And there's like 6,000 people, I think. And it's basically a food waste app. So if you are going on holiday and you've got a fridge full of stuff still, you don't want it to go off, then you can, even if it's like an open packet of biscuits, you can upload the picture, the sell-by date onto Olio and say, this is the collection. It's free. You're welcome. Yeah. So before Christmas, I was actually doing a big Christmas shoot And I think, in fact, we shot for
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
got sent another goose, like huge, like after we'd shot the.
Oh, is that what we
Yeah.
ate when you
Yes,
came?
yes,
oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that was so good. Okay, so let's you can fill everyone in on what we're talking about.
Yeah, so me and Anna shot just before Christmas, and you made a big goose that. Did you say that went horribly burnt?
I know. Basically, I had to do it overnight, and I completely messed it up. I was I was playing around with new ovens. It was a car
You just
crash.
got a new oven, hadn't
So
you?
I actually needed that second one, but it was too late to shoot.
Yeah.
So the surplus goose, I put up on Olio, and it was about a week before Christmas, I think, at that point. And I kid you not, within 3 seconds, someone had messaged saying, "Is this still available? I would love it. I've not sorted out anything for my Christmas plans to feed my family."
Oh,
I said,
perfect.
"Absolutely, yep. I'll be here till 6 o'clock." This guy turned up with his backpack, and he was like, he could not be more grateful. And with him being like, "Oh my goodness, thank you so much," I was like, "So if you need any tips about how to cook it,"
Yeah.
I obviously gave him my much revised cooking plans.
Just sell him a book.
Yeah, threw one in there, didn't even ask for it. And he was like, it was so nice. He even like messaged me after being like, "I just want to say thank you so much." Like, I don't know,
I think sharing food is like really nice and rewarding. It's like when I brought that box back to the office with all like the potatoes and the goose, and like everyone had a bit here, and everyone was just like, "This is so good," because it's like on a Wednesday afternoon or something. As soon as like roast potatoes
When
and
do you ever
goose
not want
arrived
roast
at the office,
potatoes?
and I think there's some gravy or something on it as well. I was just like, everyone was just over the moon. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we talk about like storytelling being important for business, it's like when you look at the history of storytelling, it's like it's such a human thing that's come from like literally our caveman brain, like makes us want to tell stories, and that's because that's how we share knowledge within a tribe. But I mean, the other thing would be social situations involving food. That was how we built human connections, which is what built everything. So I reckon there's something like, I don't think there's something more to it. There's something like deep within our like neuroscience that is probably like going mental when we all sit down and eat together.
I guess it's also for people that provide that food as well. There must be I must be a hunter-gatherer.
Yeah.
But like there must be something in that as well, because that kind of provision and kind of, I don't know, there's some...
Yeah, it must be rewarding, like super psychologically,
Yeah.
that like makes you want to do it.
Yeah.
And then on the receiving end is that as well. Like if you go back to like being a caveman and someone gave you food, that would be you living or dying.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you'd be so thankful for that.
Much more primal, yeah. I definitely find myself inviting friends over that I know are super enthusiastic about my food. That really like make the kind of yum noises as they're eating.
You're like,
I'm like,
I need a bit of an ego boost
Yeah,
today.
exactly. I'm not
Who should I
feeling
invite
it.
over?
Totally.
Your friends call you a feeder, right?
It's been said. I feel like since I've been renovating, I've been feeding less. But yeah, a feeder could be accurate. Yeah.
So you haven't always done what we know you for nowadays. You've been working a lot of like, you've worked a lot of kind of like, I guess, normal jobs.
Yeah, I have. I started out, I moved to, I'm really taking you through my CV, which I said I wouldn't. But I moved to London when I was just turning 18, and I got an internship at MTV and worked in the on-air department. And the people that actually hired me were so generous in doing so, because I had none of the appropriate qualifications.
What's the on-air department?
So on-air makes all the promos. It'd be like, coming up next at 5 p.m. tonight. And so you do the count-ups, or like, coming up next, or tomorrow at this time. But we would do stuff with, that was kind of back in the days of like Dirty Sanchez and TRL.
My favourite show when I was growing up.
I couldn't
Loved
watch it. I'd literally be like, I can't look. He's stapling his ball back. Yeah, so it was kind of, it was that. And so it was making promos. And, but I was the intern. I had no qualifications. They had kind of, the people that hired me and gave me the job are still like in my life, my best friends now.
Amazing.
And,
Cool.
yeah, and so I actually call one of them my London mum, because she is really, I kind of skipped university and just went straight to MTV and did all my drinking. She really showed me the ropes, and kind of did all of that there. But it was this amazing platform to then go on to. I kind of ended up moving around MTV, various departments. They kept me on air as well for a while. And I ended up I ended up moving to, I'm trying to think where I went next. We launched MTV Based Africa, went out to Johannesburg
cool.
and did a huge like live music event out there. I kind of moved into talent booking. So I would book for the Europe Music Awards. And
You're hanging around with loads of celebs and stuff, I guess.
Chaos. And just yeah. Kind of like, you need to be here now to go on stage. And they'll be like, I'll go when I'm ready. You're like, that's probably not going to work. It's just really like, you're definitely going to have to go now. After that, I went on and worked for Channel 4, doing talent booking for T4, pop, crossover a bit into Pop World. And that was fun and interesting for a while, but quite repetitive. Got to meet lots of exciting people, Patrick Swayze being one of them. So yeah, that was fun, but repetitive.
Because I think people, we look at these like quote unquote dream jobs, and those are brands that certainly there's a lot of people in the world who are like, I really want to work for Channel 4, really want to work for MTV. But like, yeah, after a while, it is just repetitive and you're doing the same things.
Yeah.
And even in those situations, there's still, I don't know, it's much more rewarding doing your own thing, I
I
guess.
think so. And do you know what? After that stint at T4, I actually played for Kelly Osbourne for a year, which is totally out there. But I think you kind of realise when you've done all these jobs, which is actually, it is amazing. It is, for me, I feel like that is crucial because there's so much that you learn from being in that environment and being out of your comfort zone so often, having to kind of work with different teams and really be able to adapt to whatever scenario, whatever's thrown at you. I think that is crucial. But I think ultimately, by the end of kind of doing all of those different jobs, I was really keen to actually do something for myself, as opposed to be constantly working towards somebody else's goal or dream. I mean, that said, after Kelly, I went and worked in fashion for Henry Holland, for House of Holland, for years. But yeah, I think again, it was that very much like, you're so passionate, and like Henry was a friend of mine, and I was so passionate and driven to work towards making House of Holland this great brand, and because I was invested in him as well as the brand. But I think, yeah, it's a refreshing, although obviously poses different challenges, working for yourself.
Did you always have in the back of your head that you might want to do something on your own?
I did, but I didn't really know what, and I didn't know that food was an option or a career that didn't entail kind of working in a kitchen.
Yeah.
So I think for a long time that I just didn't know that was an option. I didn't know that I would have what it takes to kind of stand up and do it on your own. Also, I think you have your own business, and especially nowadays with social media, it's not just about being able to cook. It's actually about being able to like manage your accounts and reach out to people, market yourself, like do all these things that actually you're like, that I didn't know about that one.
Yeah. Like,
you know?
I think people forget how important marketing is. Like, we find this with a lot of artists who just want to produce all the time, but want to be successful and not realise that you have to do the marketing, you have to do the accounts, you have to do sales, you have to do everything else that's involved in that. And I suppose, you could be like the best chef in the world, but if you don't know how to market yourself and no one else can see that, then how's anyone going to find you?
You know, there's this amazing documentary that's so heartwarming called Supermensch. Have you seen it? Supermensch.
No.
And it's actually about a talent agent that created the first celebrity chef. And it's all very personal, but it's like a really kind of uplifting and interesting look at kind of, I guess, how chefs have been marketed in a different way. But yeah, anyway.
What was your main takeaway from it?
That he was just like an amazing person, you know, when you're kind of like, oh, I'd like to marry him or something. I think he even went out with like Debbie Harry or something crazy. But I don't know, it was very much like, you know, everything is an option and everything is possible. And I think it was very much like you put out there what, you know, that optimism is actually what's crucial to creating the life you want.
So kind of coming back to your move into fashion, like that seems like quite a different job role to what you were doing before. Yeah. Like booking and moving into more of like a marketing role. Where did you kind of get your experience for that? Or was it just learning on the go?
Totally learning on the go. Henry was a friend of mine, and his business was quite young at that point. So when I came on, I did production, we did sales, we did accounting. And then eventually when it kind of grew and we had more resources to hire other people, I left production because that is hell. And I remember actually telling him, we was like, let's set up reviews and have like a proper system in our in the company. And I was like, okay, cool. Like first review, I was like, I just freaking hate production. It's so thankless. But you know, I'm passionate about the brand, and like, so he was like, do the sales side of things. And the company was growing low, so I took on US as one of my main territories, and so did a lot of traveling out to the US and Paris every year, and would sell the collection. And I think for me, it was just, I love being around people, and I guess that is probably the biggest challenge that working for yourself can pose, because I think often, and I know for me personally, I will second guess myself. I sometimes won't have the confidence in my convictions to be like, this is the right decision. Do this, do that. You can make that work. And I think working in that team environment, you can kind of have that conversation with people and be like, yes, this is the right decision.
Yeah. How do you work with that now then? Obviously, you work on your own a lot. Yeah. So do you have any kind of like ways to kind of not be lonely, I suppose? Or
so I love listening to podcasts. But I mainly just really annoy my husband, just like call him in really inappropriate times, like, I need a decision on this. He's like, what? But also there's, I guess now, because there's, I've got friends that have done the same thing and work for themselves, that I try to kind of, we've spoke a lot about doing like weekly catch-ups. And also I think sometimes actually being accountable to other people can really push you to get stuff done. And I guess you guys work together, your business partners, like when you say you're going to do something, you actually then have to go back to the other one and be like, yeah, I have done that.
Yeah,
I say I'm going to do something.
We're really lucky that there's three of us, and that means that if like two like
drop the ball,
there's always a majority decision on everything.
That's
and we can all spur each other on when we're kind of feeling down about something or not sort of sure about an element of the business or something. We've all got each other's backs, which is great. And I kind of knew when setting up, I knew I couldn't do it on my own. So I was just lucky to find these two.
Because I think also, like naturally, the kind of rhythm of life and whatever's kind of thrown at you, you are going to go through peaks and troughs. It's never going to be just plain sailing. Like, I've got this, I'm going to feel positive about everything every day and wake up and be like, I'm going to smash it today. So I think having that kind of team and the support around you is amazing. So I think for me, it's been trying to like navigate how I can have that within the friendship group I've got, and I think trying to, make that work for me while being able to have my own company, and also keep on top of each project I say yes to and don't mean to, and kind of, when you take on too much.
Yeah, it sounds to me from your previous roles that like all of them were laying the foundations for when you did eventually decide to leave, that you will have learned so much in those other roles that would have made things like much easier for you. Just like the breadth of experience you had around various different businesses, and especially at House of Holland, like working in sales and all of the different kind of elements that must have helped going forward.
Yeah, I think so. But I think one of the things that I soon or very quickly realised was that actually, you know what, selling somebody else's brand is so different to selling your own, because you really are accountable. You've got to stand up and you've got to have the confidence of your convictions, be like, this is it, this is great. And I want you to buy into me. And I think that was the first hurdle I really had to get over. I think it was being able to stand up and actually be confident and say, yeah, I'm good with this. This is.
Where did you find your confidence?
Do you know what? It took me a long time, because actually, I don't feel like I grew up with. I wasn't ever told you can't do anything, but I wasn't particularly academic, but I tried really hard, so I got good grades. But I had to really work hard at that. But like my brother just has this amazing photographic memory, and I would be like, you. I would be like, I remember for any exam I took, I would cover my room in all the notes and then teach it back to myself over and over. He would literally read the book the night before, and I'd be furious. So I think in terms of finding my confidence, it took a long time, and it just took, I think, having the balls to just be out of my comfort zone often. And even now I have to kind of talk myself into it, and I guess meditation has become part of my life, more so yoga, finding that calm, because I can be quite hectic and kind of have all these ideas, want to do everything, and then actually sitting down and doing it can be much harder. So I think it was it's kind of just trying to find what works with where you're at, and meditation, being calm, trying to actually hone in that focus. And kind of with meditation, I would then take a couple of minutes afterwards, once I'm kind of calm, to really visualize and focus what I wanted from every day. So I would sit, and once I've meditated, sit and take a couple of minutes just to be like, right, have some clarity and be like, okay, today this is what I need to achieve. This is what needs to be done. Or, I think so often you don't give yourself that time. And I think you kind of learn that through struggling through it for a couple of years. And
so with meditation, would you do that first thing in the morning, or would you do it during the day?
Depends how stressful the day is, but ideally first thing in the morning, and just taking that time before the chaos kind of surrounds you, before you've looked at your phone, before you've kind of got embroiled in whatever's come into your inbox. I think just carving out that little bit of time for yourself to just be in the moment and calm, I think has made like a huge difference for sure. Definitely.
Did you notice a difference between like when you finally sort of got your confidence up? Did that change your business? Did you start getting more opportunities, or did both go hand in hand? So the more opportunities you get, the more your confidence is boosted a little bit, and it.
Do you know what? With a few years ago, when we lived in this old pub. I mean, for about 8 years, but we lived in this pub, and my friend was very kind of relaxed he had his music studio on the ground floor, but we had this huge kind of salon space upstairs, and so I would put on pop-up restaurants, and come Christmas, it was the thing. We had this piano in the corner. Dan, who owned the house, he would get on the piano, do the carols. We would feed, like, I think one Christmas we actually got 70 people, and I would literally call friends, be like, I need another table. What have you got? How many chairs have you got? And so we'd put on these enormous pop-ups, and I would pull in favours, to begin with, favours from friends and family to come and help me cook and do it. But in the end, I would be able to pay people, and it was, a proper thing. And one year, in fact, it was Henry's mum, Henry Holland's mum. She's like, yeah, I'll come and help you. She's got this incredible chateau in the centre of France, and she's just this wonderful, glamorous woman. But Henry just has a very different approach to business and life. He would be very positive and optimistic always, and we'd be like, what, this is shit show, like, this isn't happening, what's going on? And he's like, no, it's fine, I've asked the universe, I've put it out there. I'd be like, sorry? And so come this one year, his mum is like, yeah, I want to come and do a stint. I want to do a pop-up stint. So she's with me in the kitchen all day, and we're chatting and we're talking about kind of everything and nothing. And, I was like, I'm ready I need a boyfriend. Like, it's been a couple of years now. I've just had a string of shitty boyfriends. Like, I'm over it. And she was like, well, darling, have you asked the universe? I was like, what? I was like, I have not asked the universe. That's the one place I've not asked or looked. Yeah. And so she kind of really introduced me to this whole other world of visualizing and putting out there and attracting what it is you want in your life. And this, for some people, I totally get it. It's like, it's out there, it doesn't make sense. But bizarrely, I find so many of the premises and kind of so many of the kind of train of thought in terms of looking for seeing what you want around you. I find my husband doing that in his own way, but in a non kind of I'm asking the universe today, babe, type thing.
I think I do the same. It's like, I think
we had this conversation.
I think we did, yeah. Like, I don't have that kind of, what I would count as a bit of like a hippie kind of, if I just ask for it, it'll come. But I think that visualizing the future is really important. I think if you can't visualize what something can become, it will never become that.
Totally.
Like, it's just having that thought of like, well, where am I leading this? It's like, if I'm starting a business now, what can it look like in 10 years? And having that view of, well, what could it look like? And then, because if you don't, you'll just stay where you are, and you'll just plod along. But if you're like, well, I'm always driving towards this, and if you make every decision thinking, well, if I say yes to this, will that get me closer to this vision that I've had? Yeah. Then that really helps you kind of go on the right path.
And I think once you have that vision, you're also looking constantly around you, going, oh, that could dip into that could feed into that. I turn up, show up. Like, there were so many of these different things. I mean, like, The Secret was the first thing she said. Just go and watch The Secret. She was like, just watch that. So I was like, and it is really like, in terms of the energy you put out there and having this optimism, which again is a positive, like, if you're in a good mood and you're like, hi, da, 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 people are like, hi, yeah, cool, there you are. If you're like, fuck, this is a shit day, people are like, don't come near or by. And I think that for me felt like a big turning point, because and for a long time, like I've had many a kind of family crap going on that has just really like weighed heavy on me, and I feel like it's affected so much. But this kind of gave me that like break away from all of that to be able to go, no, okay, I'm going to channel all the things I want in my life. I'm going to put it out there, and like I can do this. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but I think however which way you get to that way of thinking, I think it's an important journey. Like it's an important place to get to in terms of reaching your own success. And I'm not there. Like I mean, it's hardly like I've kind of got to where I want to be, but I know that I'm definitely, you know, every day when I get a new job, I'm grateful for it. And you know, I feel like I've been so lucky.
So firstly, I think like you never want to get there, because if you get there, then what? Like it's all about the journey. It's all about the process, and you have to fall in love with that. Otherwise, and I think for both of us, like it definitely made me think of it when Adam was talking then. For both of us, like for us, it's always about the science. You can only convince us with science. So we don't believe in magic. And when it comes to things like The Secret, I think they've actually been quite negative to a lot of people who were expecting to sit at home and think about something and then for it to happen to them. And I don't believe that works. But what we have read on the actual science of visualization is that it opens a space in your brain that
I love it.
Because we're problem solvers. We're basically monkeys, and the reason we are where we are now in modern society
just
is because
you two sitting opposite me.
The human race. I mean, we are a pair of monkeys, but the human race is where it is because we've solved every problem that's come in front of us, and so by visualizing, you set your brain to work on a problem. And so you can think about the end goal, and the result is like, oh, I want to make £50,000 by the end of the year. That can be your goal that you put in your head. But
I wrote that check. I wrote what I wanted to earn in a year.
You did the Jim Carrey?
Yeah, I did. And I freaking, like, I love that. Have you seen that? Is it Andy and...
Oh, I've not seen that.
The Andy Kaufman. Yeah.
Oh, like, what it was called?
Me and Andy, I think it was called.
Yeah, that was incredible. But, I mean, he is troubled, but incredible.
I want to have a happy, comfortable life, but I don't have any sort of like figure that I'm shooting towards because it's all arbitrary and means nothing. And like we were talking the other day about legacy.
It's easy to say if you do have like cash in the bank and you kind of like know, you know, I think.
I mean, we've eaten our beans on toast, and like for years and years we were scratching and crawling. We had absolutely nothing, and our happiness levels are like we're more comfortable now. But like what brings us joy is things like doing this podcast. It's not like now we're
right now.
For sure. Yeah. Like all of them, like we love sitting down with guests, and we love the fact that whatever we're talking about in this room is going to help a bunch of people. And then you get the DMs, and then you get people messaging you like that. For us, like we're working on like multiple thousands of pound deals outside of this room, but like, and that's fine because we need somewhere to live and we need to put food on the table. Those are essentials. But like the passion that we have for like signing another check for whoever, it's like that doesn't excite us in the same way that like helping people does. So it's, but anyway, back to The Secret. I think that you need to open that space in your head, and if you can't picture yourself in a position of success, then it's impossible to get there. I think the important thing is to focus on the goal is great, but it's how you're going to get to the goal, and it's opening up those pathways in your mind of like solving each individual problem and step. I think it's like we've spoken to people quite a lot about like that time when you come out of university or you first leave a job where it's really cloudy and you don't know what those first steps are. So it's like you can have your goal of like, oh, I'm going to be rich and successful and on a yacht. And you can sit there and dream of it, but until you start working out those steps of like, okay, step one is I'm going to look at other people who've done this and see what they did. I'm gonna start my Instagram account because I know that there's a lot of people that have been successful just by making content, and just like working out what those solutions might be.
And doing one thing every day towards that goal. Even if you've got a full-time job, but you want to do something else, I think it's starting by. I mean, I wrote my first cookery book while I was still working full-time at House of Holland. I sat there savage every night, just like, leave me alone, I'm doing this. And I'd be like typing away up all night. Because I was like, I'm making this happen. I can't believe I've been lucky enough to have been given the opportunity to make a cookery book. You know, it was probably too premature for me. But I was so like excited that this was such a huge opportunity, and I would be able to kind of at the end of it hold up kind of this book.
And then you could use the cookery book as a platform to
Yeah,
like springboard.
totally.
Was that the point where you were like, I'm going to leave?
Yeah. And do you know what? Everyone said to me, you will never regret going freelance. You will never, no one, like so many friends just said, I couldn't tell you one person out of all the freelance people I know that have regretted it. Like, and, you know, and what's the worst that can happen? You can go back and get another job. You could go back to Henry and you could be like, please give me my job back. Yeah. He would say, no, never. No. And
so glad you're gone.
yeah, it has really been great since you've gone. So yeah, I think, you know what, for a long time, like I did supper clubs, I hustled, I really I did everything around working full time because, well, I actually did 4 days a week, but I keep saying full time, but we would do a lot of travel and all the sales trips and everything. But at one point, do you know what, it's so funny because I think for a long time I really thought, you know what, like timings just haven't worked out for me and I've been unlucky. And this hasn't, you know, a friend of mine who I used to work with at Channel 4, when I was booking for T4, we actually worked, she was a producer, and we actually put together this cookery show. In the run up to Christmas, it was about, I think we had 3 weeks to get this together. Channel 4 came to us, we'd been pitching, going back and forth, had all these meetings at Channel 4. And we were just like, shit, is this actually going to happen? This is crazy. Like, we're so out of our depth. We're sat in with the commissioners at Channel 4 being like, this is going to happen. And they came back to us, I mean, after so long and so much kind of work and this and that. And they said, look, okay, this is a lot of money. You've got 3 weeks. This is what we want. And it was like 15 minutes that went out on T4 Saturday and then 45 on T4 Sunday. So it would be like on the Saturday, we're going to take you so we did a Christmas special for them. I was hosting, which I was like, oh my God, it was kind of all very last minute. We went out to this turkey farm. We talked about how to get, you know, your great produce for Christmas and where it comes from, what, you know, what's good, how to prepare it. And then the next day it would be this cook along, and we were in the old pub that I lived in and we had the entire house rigged up. Security overnight, the like outside broadcast truck outside, and we had the Wanted singing in the courtyard. We had Ollie Mers cooking with me in the kitchen. We had Dynamo, which everyone kind of culminated around the table for this big feast that I tried to control in some way. And it was complete chaos, all amazing. But literally the night before, the guests were kind of finally confirming. I was booking the guests. My friend was, it was organised chaos, but chaos.
Yeah.
And so we were just like, shit, this is happening. This is going to be our show, and we've made it happen. And we were just like, you know, pretty much celebrating with the commissioners, being like, this is happening. This is going to happen. And in the 11th hour, it got pulled. So it went out on on T4, the Christmas special, and we just couldn't believe it. I couldn't kind of watch because I was like, oh God, you're so annoying. And the 11th hour, it just got pulled. The head of BBC moved over to Channel 4. Our show was called Sunday Brunch. They cancelled. She took with them something for the weekend, brought it to Channel 4, got rid of T4, called it Sunday Brunch. And that was our show. Got like everything we'd worked for like years. And we were
they aired the first 2 and then promised you a series.
Well, so it was literally the commissioners were saying to us, I think this is a goer. Like, you can pretty much celebrate this. Like, I can't believe it. And they'd given us a lot of money to make these 2 shows. They'd gone out on T4. And it got pulled. And we were just like, fuck.
Yeah.
And we were just like, and then, you know, when I'd had this vision, like, this is going to be where my career path is going. This is, you know, we just couldn't believe it kind of on both parts. Like, that we were going to make it happen, then all of a sudden we weren't at all. And everything kind of went quiet, and we just tried to kind of repitch it slightly after and reposition it. And it just didn't ever happen, and it just went away. And I guess looking back now, I'm like, you know, timings perhaps weren't right. Maybe I wasn't confident enough. Maybe it wasn't the right time for me to be doing this.
How did you feel at that time?
It was a shitter, because I was like, you know, when you actually kind of... Also, I had a lot of friends that were becoming really successful and had these dreams that, you know, they were fulfilling. They were like, and they were out there. They were big jobs. They were really successful people. And for a moment, I was like, I'm going to be doing that too. Like, you know, and we will have made this happen. We will have produced and written this show and had it commissioned, and we've gone through this process. and it was just over. So I guess it was really trying to figure out, okay, what is next, and trying to, I guess I haven't actually spoke about it for so long. But it does make me think now, we've just renovated our place and that has been full on. But one of the things that I really wanted to do was actually create a space where I've just launched my cookery classes. So the first start this Saturday was where I could kind of be with people and teach and kind of cook at the same time. But also the idea is to start filming and having people come and cook in my kitchen with me. And that you really realize working on your own, I think it is just working on your own is one thing, but realizing what it is that makes you happy and what it is you enjoy and thrive on. I think that, and then having the balls try and hone in on that is the most important thing. And I think that's for me where I'm at now, going, right, actually, you know what? I can sit here, I can write all day, I can listen to podcasts, chuckle along at this, do that. But what I really want to do is I want to really build up this community where, I can be around people and thrive in that way. So that's the next step.
And we live in 2019, so that's totally possible. I think, like your show, you were at the mercy of the gatekeepers.
Totally.
And they could pull the plug. They had the power to pull the plug. No one can pull the plug on your YouTube show.
Exactly. And I just don't know why I've not, also you say yes to this job because you're thinking, right, I want to make this amount of money. I want to do this. I want to do that. Yeah. But actually, the focus now is like going, now I'm not paying obscene amounts for renovations. I can go, right, okay, this is where I want to invest my money. And this is where I want to have my life and my kind of direction go. Like, I love being around people. And like you said, when we kind of started this conversation, is that what you love is actually doing these podcasts, speaking to inspiring people, having, there's no right or wrong way. Like, I kind of love everyone's opinion on kind of subjectiveness on this, on that. And I just think that that's actually an exciting place to be.
I think that's what's lovely about doing stuff yourself is it's like you never really know what's going to happen. You can have your visualizations, things can completely change.
Totally.
But as long as you keep going at it with passion, you'll find something.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to see that sounds like you're almost at that exact point of what you're aiming for, which is great.
Yeah, because I loved your story when you came around and we did that shoot, and everything, like you said previously, is like you have this vision of what you want to do, and you're so you're a very calm, kind of considered person, and I feel like I'm much more hectic and out here. But you are equally as driven. You can fit and I just find even being around in the vicinity of that is inspiring to see how you navigate and I just think that's so important to kind of, you can get, I think working solo, you can really get stuck in a rut of how you work, what you're doing, and you kind of start losing the passion for what you're doing. So I think,
I think that's what's really nice about starting this podcast is the amount of people that we meet who all have got completely different stories, who do things in completely different ways, but just really invigorates you. It makes you kind of think that's a good idea, I could go and do that. And I think having that community of people is just so important. Like what you were saying earlier about when you get people together on a Friday or something to kind of discuss stuff, how many people are involved in that and how did you get that and organise that?
So that is still much kind of in the workings, but I basically have two friends, one that I do a call with once a week and another that we'll meet up, so I'm meeting her this afternoon and we will go through what we're doing that week, anything we can collaborate on and do together, or I guess it's just, it kind of started when she was on a call and we were going to grab a coffee and she was sort of palming off this great job that she'd already mentioned to me the week before, but she was kind of, well, I just don't think I can do that, I've not got the time. But actually it was this brilliant campaign that she could do. She had basically just talked herself where she'd just lost her confidence and I was like, she got the phone, I was like, what are you doing? You told me last week you were so excited about this project. Of course you can do it. Make it happen. Yes, you can do it. And she got back on the phone and was like, of course we can make this work. When sometimes I think you do lose your nerve, working alone.
There's a YouTuber I watch in New York, and he's kind of got a bunch of people around him where I think once a week or once every couple of weeks they'll get together in an evening, get a bunch of beers in, and then they'll I think there's 5 or 6 of them who are involved, all kind of working for themselves, and they'll basically, someone will stand up and say what they've done this week, and then everyone else have a brainstorm for that person
I
of
love
like,
that, yeah.
why don't you try and do this? Why don't you try and do that? I think that's such a nice way that if you do work on your own, get a bunch of people around you.
Totally.
Like, you don't have to be alone.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not that hard to find people these days as well.
No.
Like, just drop them a DM or something, because
Yeah.
chances are they're feeling the same way that you are. It's like
And everyone says the same thing. So there is actually kind of a little kind of Instagrammy crew that kind of meets up regularly. We go through the, you know, once you've had all your goss and all of that, then you kind of sit down and you can kind of put it out there. And the plan is to try and get a monthly thing in, but everything's, I don't know, it's quite hard to just have one day that you stick to that works for everyone.
I suppose if you make it like this has to happen on this day, because it's so important.
So great.
And I think you say, well, this is definitely happening on this date of every month. If you can't make it because you're on holiday, I think just don't come, but we'll do it anyway. And making sure that consistency happens, because then it'll become a habit of just things you get used to doing, rather than...
And I think having a rule of like, you can't miss more than 2 in a row.
Yeah,
if you miss more than 2 in a row, then you're not in the group anymore. Like, don't
strict.
like, because then you've got accountability, and you're like, because I know there's a lot of times where it's like, should do this thing, but bed or telly or whatever, and it's like, when you've got that kind of accountability of like, really should do this thing, and there's a consequence if I don't do it, then you're going to do it.
Because I think especially like Instagram is kind of a separate thing, and I'm grateful that it's there and can be part of my business, but ultimately kind of like writing and cooking is kind of where I want to focus my time and energy. But I think just surrounding yourself with people that inspire you, I find, is so incredible. And I guess that comes back to kind of getting that group together, because there's definitely people that, you know, when you can have like an off day, and then you go and have your coffee with this person that you've not seen for a while, and all of a sudden you're thinking in a completely different way. And I think it's just about like managing yourself, knowing what you're like, and managing yourself to stay on track and on that path that you want to be on.
We're talking about visualizations. There's certainly people that we imagine that we'll have on the podcast at some point.
Who? Was it
well,
me?
So I was thinking.
No.
We're done now.
Yeah. Who?
I was thinking specifically, Rick Rubin is someone that I really, really, really want to get on the podcast.
If I know who that is.
So he's a record producer. He produced like the Beastie Boys and Run DMC in the 80s. He's produced everyone. I think he's produced Metallica. He's produced Eminem, like just like everyone you've ever heard of. He's just a genius.
Okay.
And I listened to Tim Ferriss's interview with him. I think he's done a couple actually, but and like for me that was one of those interviews where I was just like, I'm sitting in a room with 2 inspiring people, like and like that was before we started the podcast, and now we get to do it every day. And like, although we haven't had Rick Rubin, because that interview exists, I can just go and listen to that. And I think that's just the great thing of like, you don't have to start your own podcast and be in a room with someone incredible. Like, there's access to almost everyone. Like, there's interviews with Obama online. It's like, you can't get a meeting with the guy, but you can pick his brain, quote unquote, like just by consuming their content. And that's the wonderful position we're in at the moment. It's great.
Yeah, it's so good. I do just think to kind of sit down and pick people's brains that you really truly admire and you want to hear what they've got to say is an amazing thing.
A guy I met in New York, the same guy actually who set up the group with his friends, he said to me, if there's anyone you ever want to meet, think about a question you'd want to ask them in advance, because if for some reason you sat in a coffee shop and they walked in, because I've had it before where I've been to like a record signing of like a band that I've liked, and I'm like, I really like you, you're really good. And because you just don't know what to say. Whereas if I think if I thought in advance what question I could ask them that I could actually get something from, like have that in the bank. So if you've got like your top 10 people you'd love to ask a question to, make sure you know that question in advance, because if they walk in, you can go and ask them that question rather than just be like, can I have a selfie with you, please?
Yeah, I think it's because as soon as you ask for the selfie, then you put yourself into a category for them of like, this is a person. Status. Yeah, this is a person that's asked for a selfie with me, and you need to meet them on kind of an equal footing to be taken seriously. I think
it's a funny one, that, isn't it? Because I think we so easily put people on a pedestal that are famous, or that, like, I don't watch Love Island. I don't watch any of those. I don't know.
Reality TV.
No, because I just think, like, I don't have a huge amount of time anyway. And when I like the time I do have, I actually want to be enriching my
100%.
mind.
Yeah, I'm with you.
What content do you consume?
Well, podcasts. I love a podcast.
Favorite podcast?
Do you know
Other
what-
than Creative Rebels, obviously.
Yeah, this number one. Talk art. I have to say that because I do love it. And I listen to. Do you know what I actually really love? And this is kind of really sad, but like when me and my husband are on a honeymoon, and just whenever we go away together, we always get into a podcast. And so we did like Teacher's Pet, Making a Murderer. Making a Murderer wasn't a podcast, but yeah, I kind
All
of
the classics.
love. Yeah, I don't know. I love those murder mystery or like something that's just got like some bizarre. I was painting the other day, and we ended up listening. It just kind of Alexa put on whatever she wanted to play, just wanted to ignore us again. And it was like this podcast about this guy that had been like unconscious, like trying to make it over the border from Mexico for 15 years in this hospital bed, and they did this whole investigation. But then I was just like sitting there painting and crying. Like, this is just terrible. But yeah, so I love a podcast. Guilty Feminist. Like I love stuff that makes me laugh. Like I just think there's so much value in being able to have a proper bellyache, like proper really laugh. So
What about business ones? Do you listen to anything?
How We Made This. I've listened to a few of those. I kind of got into watching like my next guest needs no introduction, the David Letterman, where he's got Kanye, Obama, like had some interesting people. I kind of love that. I guess everyone does, like loves a bit of insight into people's lives, but on a bit of a more real level than people that, I don't know, they're trying to set up with other people to fall in love with.
Who's your biggest inspiration?
Do you know what? Like, I'm sure there are people that I really do find incredibly inspiring, but I feel like my husband really has this amazing calm that I live for. And he used to be like he used to fly off the wall at all sorts. Apparently, I never kind of saw that, but he has managed to just really hone his calmness, and he thinks before he speaks. He's considered, he's so caring, and he's funny, but he's not always trying to be funny, but he will come in with like a belter. And I just think, oh, that's a really amazing, he never feels like he's missing out. He's not on social media. He's just living his life and caring for the people around him. I'm like, this is good.
Oh, what a wholesome, lovely answer.
Great.
That's pathetic, isn't it?
No, it's lovely.
You mentioned your Instagram account. I know at the beginning of the year you were a little bit kind of frustrated with how things were going and losing a lot of followers and stuff like that.
I think I was just getting bored with it.
Follow unfollow thing.
Yeah, but also I think it's just like in terms of trying to grow it, I just don't know how authentic the whole thing is in general. I don't know. And I think I was just like, this is just taking up too much of my life. This isn't real. Mm-hmm. But I think you just naturally have peaks and troughs with anything you do. You kind of, 1 minute it's like, it's great and you're getting great traction on something. I mean, really frustratingly, all my renovation stuff does way better than any other thing I do. So yeah, any kind of, I think because everyone's so kind of house proud now. People loved it when I would show like my house trashed, when the builders had just like done another shit kind of like just, I don't know. But yeah, I think you just go in peaks and troughs, and now it's fine. Do you know what? I actually don't spend enough time on there to warrant it bothering me so much now. And I think that's the thing. I think, and like my husband was a kind of the person that was like saying, you know what, if you're not enjoying it, don't do it. Like, do it as much as you need to for your work. Make it work for you. Don't let it rule your life. Like, come and be present. And, and I find myself like, you're on holiday. I love taking photos. I will always take photos. But when everything is so like, okay, I've got to do that for that, then that for that. I've said yes to too many things. I'm now doing a post for this person. It's just like, actually, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy this lovely meal. I'm going to eat my pasta. And, I think that there's just value in that. And I think it's just trying to moderate what is worth doing for work and what is worth doing for like your own happiness.
Yeah.
And putting that first.
You have like multiple different revenue streams, because there's lots of different things that you do that can fund you. So I think supper clubs, especially for someone who's like into food, like what a great way to start, because you can start building that up on the side. You can do it evenings and weekends when you're working a full-time job. And I think that's such a smart way for people to get into food. But what are some of the different ways that you monetize?
I mean, I've not monetized my blog, but I know that there's people that do. And I guess starting a blog, if you want to cook and you want to share that your recipes, I think like work experience with people. If you want to, it depends what element, I think it's good to have experience across kind of everything from food styling to homemaking. You can work on, I've got friends that are amazing, like food stylists and photographers, and they're shooting cookery books all year round. And I've had experience with them, and I love it. I love going and seeing how other people cook. Like one of my most exciting things that I did was work on Antonio Carluccio's book with him in his house, and he'd be like just chomping on massive chunks of cheese or like whole burratas or something. And I think it's like I think it is like network, meet people, work for free if you have to and if you can. I know that's not always. We
always advocate working for free, especially when you're getting started, because it's like you can grow a portfolio, but you might take 10 years to get.
Yeah.
Like if you go to someone and say, look, like I always say, like try and find like 10 people you'd love to work for.
Yeah.
Go to them and say, like, I'll offer you my service for free. Like, are you interested? And like they might say no, but there's a good chance that you might find them at the right time and they say yes. Yeah. And then you suddenly got that person on your CV.
And go back to them. If they don't come back to you first up, go back like 2-3 times, whatever,
Absolutely.
Be polite, you can do it.
You don't have to bother them, but like just keep offering.
Yeah.
And eventually like you'll end to say like, well, I've done this for this person, this person, this person. And if you can go to a new person who you could like you're selling to, you're like, look, well, I've done this for these people. Would you like me to do it as well? And they'll be like, wow, they've done it for these, so yes, I'll do it for you. It's just growing trust, and
building a network of people that you've worked with that you can call on for advice or go back to, or they might call you up and be like, someone's dropped out, can you come and do this? And I think it's building up that network and getting out there, meeting people.
Yeah, I think like the people you meet will change your lives.
Yes.
And it's like, I found that with my photography. It's like, you're here now because we shot together, because I said, do you want a free shoot?
Amazing photographer. Everyone use him.
But it's like, you just use that to grow a network, and it's great. It's like you can meet people just by offering a skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you use the blog as kind of like more marketing to get people to know about you.
I know that people do that. I think I was super fortunate with contacts that I already had and people that I'd worked with, because I managed to get like a regular piece with Vogue. So I did Vogue online, and I did Miss Vogue for a while. But again, when I look back, I'm like, God, that was so premature, because actually I don't know how great that imagery is that I've shot or kind of messily put together.
They signed it off, so it must have been good.
And Grazia, I did like the food pages for Grazia for a year and a half. And I guess it's just, I definitely would have felt out of my comfort zone, and often do. I think probably every job I've started or taken on or said yes to, there's definitely a moment where you're like, crap, like, oh God. But I think take a breath, take a minute. You can do it, and if you prepare, rehearse, do whatever it is that's necessary, you can go in and feel confident and do a good job at something. I guess now, again, like, it is the people you meet, and I've ended up with a column for Evening Standard where I can write about food, interview cookery book writers, and people that are passionate about food. I don't know, everything kind of...
I think using those bigger platforms, and it comes back to working for free again as well. It's like, obviously you had contacts, which is great, but like contacting every single magazine under the sun. If you are able to write well, and you can write about what it is that you do. So if you're an artist and you can write as well, then you can approach wherever. But whatever it is that you do, if you can write about that, then it builds your personal brand, and it like just so many opportunities can come from that.
Because also I think it's so important to remember all the people that we would perceive as being really successful now. People like Sam and Cowell have gone bankrupt at 30, and and they've gone back and they've had to pick up the pieces and start again and try again. And I think that is the thing that constantly kind of plays in the back of my mind. Like, not everything has worked out and gone to plan, but you know, those experiences still have so much value. And I think it's like, okay, what's the next thing? What can I do now? What will work for me now? Like, I do believe like timings and, you know, everything does happen for a reason.
Yeah,
I think
because I feel
so.
like
I hope
the experience you have now, if you moved to Spain and had no contacts,
Yeah.
you could still make a success of yourself because you know how to do it. You know how to go and approach people.
Yeah.
It's not like people are just being like, oh, here's a job.
Yeah.
It's like you could go and get them because you've got the confidence to do it because you've done it before.
Yeah. I think it is just, do you know what? Like, just try and try again and try again. Because you were like, I feel like that's so true of just, you know, you get knockbacks. It's not always going to work out. That person might not be in the office that day. They might, someone new comes in. Whatever the deal is, go back and keep pushing until you kind of get to where you want to get to.
Yeah.
I'll take that advice myself this afternoon.
And so another...
I'm going home to write some emails.
and so another way that you've monetized is classes. You've got some classes coming up.
So cookery classes. We've now got this like gorgeous kitchen space with a big island and all amazing appliances like Dream Miele appliances. And yeah, people I've kind of the first class that I released a couple of weeks ago is like sold out in the first day, and I'm starting my first class tomorrow. What day? Saturday. So,
amazing.
What's involved in a class?
So one of the classes is Dinner Party Pro. So it's all about the dishes that you will make for your guests at a dinner party, but it's about how you lay the table, how to host and look kind of effortless and, you know, still be the hostess with the mostess, and just kind of, you know, provide a lovely meal for people, but kind of not while running around your kitchen. So it's all kind of tips, tricks, hacks, how you can kind of do things effortlessly.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
I like this one. I would just say you can have it all. And it's not that you should want it all, but you can have it. It's all there for the taking. Know you can do it. Know that no one else like deserves it more than you. Like, go out, get it. Like, you've got this. You can do it. I think when I have children, it'll, you know, in a really not pushy mum way, but I think it's just like, it's all good. You've got it. You can do whatever. If you want to do something, you can do it.
Boom. Where can people find you online?
My website, you can find me at www.annabarnettcooks.com or on Instagram, Anna Barnett Cooks. And I've got cookery classes coming up. There's lots of exciting bits. I am making these videos work. It is going to happen.
Where can people find out about the classes?
So Instagram, you can sign up to my newsletter on my website, and I post up the classes there kind of first, so you get kind of first dibs. And I'm super excited for people to come, cook, share my space.
Yeah, I'll definitely come down.
Yeah, you need to come.